Good afternoon and welcome to the show. I am a logical lefty, Jeff Waldorf here, and I have a lot of policy stuff to talk about today. It's going to be a very interesting show. We're kind of going to get into some of the policy positions here, like on, for example, the tariffs. We're going to talk a lot about tariffs today, including their impact on some of the Trumpers or truckers for Trumps. God damn, I could not say that. Trunkers. Okay. No, it's not about people being stuffed in a trunk. Is that a fetish? I don't know. I have no idea. Weird stuff that's going through my head right now. But yes, Trumpers or truckers for Trump. Boy, is that hard to say for me today. I don't know why. But yeah, we're going to talk about them. Anyway, so that should be fun. We have, of course, his executive order on trying to lower drug prices. Is it going to work? Are we going to have lower drug prices? Ooh, I don't know about that one. We'll dive into it. Trust me. It's going to be fun times. We also have employers that are worried about Donald Trump's immigration crackdown. So big surprise there. So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on here. Trunk stuffing. Yes, indeed. That makes it sound even more of a fetish, like kind of dirty over there. Like, well, I'm gonna stuff your trunk. The stuff that you hear on my show is, I don't know. It's something interesting. Anyway. That's what I've got on the show today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Why would you want to do such a thing? You're just going to encourage the guy to talk about trunk stuffing. Yes, probably. Okay, anyway. I do want to thank, by the way, some members, Changeling DJ. Thank you for continuing to be a patron. Shady Yes. Thank you for joining and supporting us on our membership, as well as Michael Sheliga. Appreciate that. And so, yeah, trunk stuffing. We're gonna get right into it. Okay. I know people just coming into the show are like, "What the hell are you talking about? What is this weirdo talking about?" Trust me, not even I know some days. Okay. All right. Anyway, why don't we start? Why don't we get serious? No, not actually serious, because this is an unserious story. That is a great example of corruption, by the way, and it is Trump Force One, courtesy of the Qatari government. Are we late again today? Oh, no, we're late. That's all me. Okay. So let's do this. It appears that a proposed gift from the government of Qatar has some hardcore MAGA fans fuming. Oh boy. ABC News reports that the royal family of Qatar will be gifting the president a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet to be used as Trump's new Air Force One, Trump Force One, whatever you want to call it. Okay. The jet, which is expected to be handed over during Trump's trip to the Middle East, is known to be so luxurious that it is called a flying palace. A flying palace, because that's exactly what Trump needs, a new flying palace. That is just apparently as gaudy and filled with gold trim as some of Donald Trump's other possessions. So certainly created with him in mind. Sources told ABC that the jet will be transferred to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation just before he leaves office, which means, of course, they're using that to try to get around rules and regulations against taking gigantic gifts from foreign governments. So, oh no, we're giving it to the military or something, and then it's going to go to the library, in which Donald Trump will be able to use it for his personal use whenever he wants. So, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Now, following this announcement, of course, there are a lot of big Trump supporters that took to social media to say, "Don't do it!
Don't you ever do that. Don't you ever do that. I tell you, don't do it.
Don't take the gift. Don't take the gift," because it's not really a gift. Now, hold on here. I'm going to actually agree with that, but let's get to some of the responses first. This one user with thousands of followers wrote this. "Qatar is a terrorist sponsoring state, needs to be sanctioned like Iran. For sure, a gift such as this would have strings attached. Things would be expected in return. Don't take it. Thank them. Sell it," which is, you're still benefiting from it then. "Use the money for other things. Don't take it, DJT. Check it for bombs and spying devices beforehand. I don't trust these people." Gee, I wonder why. Okay. To be fair, again, this whole thing reeks of corruption. This person is right about the strings that would be attached to this. But again, there's more responses to it. In fact, here's what Trump 45-1 posting over on Truth Social. "The USA should never accept gifts from foreign powers." Oh, okay, I agree with that. Well, to an extent. The president shouldn't accept personal gifts from foreign powers. Let's be fair about that, because, you know, the Statue of Liberty was a gift from a foreign country. Just saying. So, would we have to return it? I mean, we might as well, since we're not exactly the bastion of freedom and liberty, and, you know, welcoming of immigrants, like the Statue of Liberty, you know, was supposed to symbolize. But okay, all right. But get into the weeds here. But more of this comment says, "We love you, Mr. President, but with every gift there are strings attached." Okay. "Besides, bugs all over that plane. Never trust Qatar. TGAT funds, protects, hides, shelter Hamas. Hashtag bring them home now." Okay. Shlomo, yes, told their 5,000 followers on True Social, "Don't ever trust Qatar. Backstabbing bastards, Islamic stronghold, and America-hating con artists. This plane is probably rigged with devices to kill Trump and or his administrative staff. Don't touch that plane." What? Another said, "100% agree. This Trojan horse. Lots of business happens on that jet, so of course they will arm it with bombs or sound pieces or even the controls, as we know aircrafts are crashing for no reason." No, you know why aircraft is crashing right now? Because there's not enough staff at the control towers. Okay. And again, you can thank Donald Trump for that, but it's a big but, right? Staffing at these control towers, air traffic controllers, has been declining for decades. All right. Basically goes all the way back down to Ronald Reagan. Okay. Ronald Reagan, for every major problem this country has, you can always trace it back to Ronald freaking Reagan. Okay. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why air traffic controllers, they don't have a lot of them. They're also refused to fund and train them. And Trump just took on this problem and didn't really solve it. And it got worse. It just got worse because now you have air traffic controllers that are walking away. Yeah. So there's that. Okay. No, this doesn't have anything to do with Qatar or these Islamic countries. And see, I got more comments here from Trump supporters, but you were already seeing the thread here. Okay. Another says, as a Trump supporter, please, President Trump, don't take the plane from Qatar. It's not illegal. The Statue of Liberty was a gift, but it's bad optics. And Qatar has often acted against our own interests. If we must take the plane for some foreign policy reason, please sell it. Jamie, who identifies as a MAGA, pro-America, pro-Israel person, saying, this $400 million plane from Qatar plus Hamas releasing the American hostages, setting things up for Trump to go extra soft on these barbarians. Okay. Eric Erickson wrote, the Qatari government is not our friend, cooperates with Iran and its proxies, and funds terrorism and pro-terror propaganda around the world. Mark Levin said, there are news reports that Qatar is buying us a jet. Who knows? But Qatar must stop buying our colleagues in universities and spreading their anti-American, Jew-hating propaganda and funding terrorist groups and their front groups. Their jet and all the other things they're buying in our country does not provide them with the cover they seek. It is a terror state that is beyond dispute or their bank accounts. Whew. Yeah. Laura Loomer, of course, weighed in as well. She called this a stain on Trump's presidency. How many more stains are there going to be? It's just over 100 days. We got 3 years of stains left to go. This is going to be worse than... No, I'm not saying it. I'm not going there, okay? We're not going there. Here's what she said, though. I love President Trump. I would take a bullet for him. Okay. But I have to call a spade a spade. We cannot accept a $400 million gift from jihadists in suits. The Qataris fund the same Iranian proxies and Hamas and Hezbollah, who have murdered U.S. service members. The same proxies that have worked with the Mexican cartels to get jihadists across our border. Yeah. This is really going to be such a stain on the administration if this is true. And I say that as someone who would take a bullet for Trump. Again, that's twice. I'm so disappointed. Here's the thing. Yes, I also am in agreement that Donald Trump should not accept this plane. Why? Because it's, well, obviously different reasons than MAGA. Because of the corruption. Yes, they're going to want something in return for their gifts. That's how the swamp works. Okay? Simple as that. Of course, a big reason, and you've probably figured this out already, that MAGA is not in favor of this is because Muslims. That's really it. That's the whole reason. All they see is Muslim equal terrorist. I think that if it were Israel that were gifting Donald Trump a jet, MAGA would likely be over the moon with joy. Let's be very clear about that, all right? But again, the corruption here is the problem. Imagine Joe Biden or Barack Obama taking this $400 million gift. Okay, this is something that would make Hunter Biden blush, all right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, MAGA supporters, they don't get it. Donald Trump did not run to make America great again. Okay? In 2016, he ran so he could make money. That's it. 2024, he ran to try to stay out of prison. This man was never interested in serving the American people. This was always a self-interested grift. Okay? And that's really it. All right? Trump, all he has done while in office is try to enrich himself. Okay? And that's it. And by the way, like, he's going to take the plane. He's going to take the plane. He went to Truth Social to push back, okay? Because he got criticism from Democrats as well, obviously, and criticism from MAGA supporters. But here's what he said about that. So the fact that the Defense Department is getting a gift free of charge of a 747 aircraft to replace the 40-year-old Air Force One temporarily in a very public and transparent transaction so bothers the crooked Democrats that they insist that we pay top dollar for the plane. Anybody could do that. The Dems are world-class losers. Mega. Okay. Again, this has been set up in a way where Donald Trump will receive a free plane. That's it. That's it. Okay. He doesn't want people to know that he's going to get a free jet. I mean, this is a luxury jet that's been described as a flying brothel. Okay. Of course. But here's the thing. The way that it's structured is that, and this was started by Pam Bondi, okay? She made it and structured it so that it wouldn't technically violate the law, okay? And so she did that because guess what? She happened to have been a lobbyist for Qatar, earning about $100,000 a month. She authorized this, even though it is clearly corruption and grift. And that's what all this administration is. It's grift. So, and look, the sad thing is MAGA is likely not going to, yes, they're mad now, but they're likely going to forget about it in a couple of days. They'll never admit that they backed a con artist. And, that's why the people that continue to stick with him, that's why they're considered to be some of the easiest marks. Okay. So there you go. Easy marks. We've got more. Okay. It appears we may have a deal when it comes to China. In fact, markets have risen after President Donald Trump essentially caved on the tariffs for most goods coming in from China. U.S. and Chinese officials said on Monday that they had reached a deal to roll back most of their recent tariffs, as well as calling for a 90-day truce in their trade war to allow for more talks on resolving some of their trade disputes. U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer said the U.S. agreed to drop the 145% tariff rate on Chinese goods by about 115 percentage points down to about 30, while China agreed to lower its rate on U.S. goods by the same amount to 10%. Economists note that tariffs still remain high than before, much higher than they were before, and that the outcome of the future talks is uncertain. Yes. Not only that, but what's really important here is what they left out of this deal. Small packages from China are still subject to tariffs of 120%. According to a White House official that confirmed this on Monday. Now, the reason is Trump had ended a loophole that would allow low-value goods into the country without tariffs, meaning that there will still be a 120% tariff rate on shipments valued at less than $800, or a flat $100 fee per postal item, a White House official tells Axios. And in starting on June 1st, that flat fee will increase to $200. Packages that were valued at less than $800 previously enjoyed the de minimis exemption from added levies, which allowed foreign online retailers like Temu and Shein to sell cheap items to American consumers. But, no more of that. No more of that. So that's over. Nonetheless, the markets shot right back up. Futures for the S&P 500 jumped 2.6%. The Dow Jones was up 2%. Oil prices also went up $1.60 a barrel, and the dollar gained against the euro and the yen. Mark Williams, chief Asia economist at Capital Economics, says this is a substantial de-escalation. It's a cave. It's a cave. But that same person warned that there's no guarantee that the 90-day truce will give way to a lasting ceasefire. So here we go. We've got more on again, off again tariffs. Great. Now, that said, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said of this, the consensus from both delegations this weekend is that neither side wants a decoupling, and that's what had occurred with these very high tariffs was an embargo, the equivalent of an embargo, and neither side wants that. We do want trade. We want more balanced trade, and I think that both sides are committed to achieving that. Gotcha. Look, here's the thing. I don't think Donald Trump understands the idea of what balanced trade actually is. What Trump is looking for is a win. That's it. Trump does not do details. Okay? The details for him are unimportant. In fact, look, the last time a Trump administration had put a trade dispute on hold with Beijing was back in 2018. Now, the U.S. had abandoned a deal in progress and spent another 18 months negotiating, only for China to eventually renege on the purchase agreement that they'd ultimately reached. So there you go. Apparently, it's more appearance than details. And the appearance is Donald Trump actually caved. He didn't get anything from this. And in fact, according to Fox Business's Charles Gasparino, he wrote, both sides have blinked. Following up by saying, I didn't say we won. No, Trump raised tariffs on the world, the markets, particularly the bond market, which we need to finance our debt, rebelled. Trump was then forced to back off, end of story. Film at 11, the president spinning, this is a major victory. Okay, sorry, couldn't help myself. But what we have seen is a little lesson on how markets exert their power. How, when you have to depend on them, as we still do, and remember, it's really the budget deficit that's causing the trade deficit, and we need the budget deficit to maintain our standard of living. You can't go to trade war with the world without bad stuff happening. Yes. So, now, here's the other thing, right? One of the reasons that I think this trade war, okay, the tariffs on China specifically, were a dumb idea, especially when it comes to manufacturing, because the whole point that Trump was like, oh, we got to bring American manufacturing back. Okay, but you're focused on the wrong thing. Blaming China, right? It ain't China's fault. They didn't go and steal U.S. manufacturing. No, this was greedy shareholders and CEOs that voluntarily sent our manufacturing overseas to an economy that at the time was still developing, meaning that these companies could take advantage of the lower standard of living in order to exploit workers because they didn't want to pay American workers. That's it. So they sent their companies overseas and they reaped incredible profits while hollowing out America's manufacturing base. Okay. Now, if you wanted to rebuild manufacturing, I mean, first off, you would need to massively invest, okay, in this country and then give incentives. And then, of course, add in maybe targeted tariffs, like on solar panels, computer chips. Oh, yeah. I seem to remember a president doing that. Oh, right. It was President Joe Biden. Huh. Yeah. Under Biden, manufacturing jobs had actually grown by around 800,000. Now, and it's, of course, that's the first 2 years. The third year, growth wasn't as big and all that. But what's important here is what Biden did with the tariffs. Remember, he did keep some of Donald Trump's first term tariffs, okay? And even expanded on some of them, right? Now, that's ultimately because tariffs can be effective. But if you're smart with them, okay? Which this administration, not exactly smart. That said, time will eventually tell if Donald Trump's tariff strategy, if you want to call it that, ends up doing some good. That said, as of right now, it looks like this was a massive cave for no good reason. Okay. And so there you go. In fact, we have some results of this. On Sunday, the Las Vegas Sun published an article about Trump voting truckers that are having a hard time as a result of Donald Trump's tariffs. Steve Finn, the owner of Premium Trucking in Las Vegas, who voted for Trump in 2024, said that if given the opportunity today to pull the lever for Trump, he would decline. Not do it. Now, why? Well, the Sun reports that he is frustrated by what he considers to be a lack of preparation from the president regarding some of his trade policies. Quote, "We did everything way too fast." Really? Trump, Finn added, should have prepared some businesses for this, and I don't think anybody's prepared for this because all this administration talked about was everything is going to be great. Now, hold on here. It's kind of an important point, right? Because it gets to the propaganda. Because, yes, during the campaign, Trump did go around saying that everything was going to be awesome. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be tremendous. And we're going to make so much money. It's going to be great. And then it wasn't. Obviously. And here's the thing, though. When Elon Musk was out there talking about how you should expect pain, because he did that during the election, okay? But when he did that, you could be damn sure that the majority of Trump voters were not aware of that, didn't hear about it. Because why? Right-wing media. I mean, that's it. Everyone else was saying, oh my God, this is not going to be good at all. It's going to be terrible. What are you doing? No, we shouldn't put tariffs on the world. Well, here we are. And again, they're like, I cannot believe this happened. We were telling you it's going to happen. But different media bubbles, let me tell you what. Now, that said, the result here is so bad that Trump has backed off from his most controversial tariffs on China. And this happened on Monday. This is the day after this report had come out. Now, that said, the people in this are not, they're not looking forward to things, okay? Much of Finn's business, according to this report, relies on conventions like CES, okay? It's a tech extravaganza that happens in January, and he says that it sets the tone for the start of the year, and as Finn told The Sun, as of right now, the tone looks pretty bleak. A lot of people are pulling out of CES, so I think that it's going to be a sign that 2026 is going to be a rough start. It's not just Finn. You have Trueline Corporation President Paul Truman saying that his company is struggling to be proactive, saying you become very reactionary to the marketplace and just try to do the best job you could do. Truman said consumers will start to see the effects of Trump's tariffs on the store shelves in as little as 2 weeks. Isn't that funny? Like, just getting back to the 2 weeks thing, you know, I remember when Trump, during his first term, was talking about healthcare. We're going to do healthcare reform. Really? When's that going to happen? Give me about 2 weeks. Okay. 2 weeks for something positive, but I can guarantee with the negative stuff, it's going to be here before 2 weeks. Okay. Now, Shashi Nabezian, director of University of Nevada, Las Vegas Transportation Research Center, told The Sun that consumers are going to be looking at the middle of May when you can see the ripple effects of that hit our store shelves, and says that those ripple effects will not be limited to a single industry. Quote, think about the people they hire, the drivers, the people who maintain their trucks, others who will be in the warehouse. Then at each of these stores where we as consumers go to buy stuff, there are people who work in these stores to stock the store, and so on and so forth. It's got a major ripple effect in the economy. But wait a minute then. Now that Donald Trump's done a 90-day pause in these 145% tariffs on China, bringing them down to the 30s, isn't everything going to be fine? I mean, come on. This story's a day old, and now things have completely changed. No, you got to understand that there's lag time on this. And so these tariffs have led to huge disruption. There are companies that have made or changed their plans based on these tariffs, which again are on again, off again. So nobody really knows. There's no trust in the system anymore. Okay. And now what are they going to have to change things again? Well, why change things again when you don't know what's going to happen 90 days from now? These disruptions are already baked in. Okay. And yes, that does mean there will be shortages of things. And that is going to have an impact. Now, finally, I want to address the thing of the idea that, oh, guys, we were just not prepared for all this. What? What do you mean? What are you talking about? Trump, he campaigned on all of this. I mean, he told us all he's going to do it. And then he did it. He did it. If you had been paying attention, you would have realized, too, that these two promises, the promises that, the two of the major ones that Trump had made, I'm going to lower the prices for everything. I'm going to lower the prices for groceries. I'm going to lower the prices for this and that, right? And then to save you money. Doing that and tariffs were at the start completely incompatible goals. You can't do both. But then again, of course, you have to understand that maybe that's why he was lying about what the tariffs were and who actually pays them. Either that or he does not understand still how tariffs actually work. I don't know. But at the end of the day, speaking to these business owners who are impacted, who voted for Trump, well, this is one of those FAFO situations where, unfortunately, everyone will be finding out. So, there you go. Speaking of finding out, let's move on to employers versus the immigration crackdowns. Ah, yes. Got to love that. Nope says lots of container ships were turned around. American small farmer exports were denied, but guess what? Also, small farmers lose their land. Big corporations will buy it up. America's cooked. Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah. And Jose Kelly points out that every ship from China takes a month to get here. So again, that lag time. Maybe he doesn't know jack about anything. Probably. Very likely. All right. President Donald Trump's immigration crackdown has apparently worried employers. Why? What do you mean? What do they have to worry about? Labor shortage. Oh. Polling by employment law firm Littler found that a majority of U.S. business executives now view immigration as one of their key areas of concern. 75% of respondents identified the current administration's immigration policies as one of their top concerns, second to DEI. Why is DEI a concern? I have no idea. Now, that said, Craig Rupp, founder and CEO of Sabantoa, a farming technology company, said, actually, you know what? Immigration DEI isn't my top of concern. What then? What is your top concern? The president's on-again, off-again relationship with slapping tariffs on countries. Ah, gotcha. Now, that said, he added, we comply with federal requirements like the I-9 system to verify employment eligibility, and that's straightforward. My top concern are tariffs. It's not necessarily the tariffs themselves, but the resultant uncertainty they inject in the markets and investor behavior. That volatility has a far greater impact on how we plan and grow our business. No kidding. That's what we were saying about this. Now, additionally, however, 70% of executives say that they do expect enforcement actions by ICE and the Department of Homeland Security to have a moderate or significant impact on their workplaces over the next year. More than half, 58%, expressed concern that these policies could lead to staffing difficulties, with executives in the manufacturing and hospitality sectors expressing heightened anxiety. Oh, now the survey conducted between late February and mid-March including responses from 349 executives at U.S. companies. 60% were in-house legal professionals, while the remainder included human resources leaders and other C-suite executives. Nearly 3/4 of those surveyed worked at firms with more than 1,000 employees. They say that the removal of thousands of undocumented workers could disrupt supply chains, exacerbate labor shortages, and result in higher prices for consumers. Agricultural production, according to the American Business Immigration Coalition, could fall by $30 billion to $60 billion if Trump's deportation policy is implemented. ABIC CEO Rebecca Sheen said in a statement to Newsweek, America's economy runs on immigrant talent. 31% of elder care workers and over half of the farm workers. We need smart immigration policies to keep businesses strong and prices low. President Trump's recent call for legal pathways for farm workers and hotel workers is a critical step forward. Businesses across the nation are eager to work with Congress and the president to secure the workforce that powers our future. The American Immigration Council estimates that implementing a large-scale removal policy, like what Trump had campaigned on, could result in a one-time cost of approximately $315 billion. In addition, deporting 1 million individuals annually could generate an ongoing expense of up to $88 billion a year. And not only that, but the loss of immigrants means less money collected in taxation. In 2023, for example, approximately 4.9% of the U.S. workforce was undocumented, so not a very large share. Yet 89.4% of those happen to be of working age. That same year, households led by undocumented immigrants paid $89.8 billion in total taxes. That includes $33.9 billion in state and local taxes and $55.8 billion in federal taxes. So the total taxes that they pay, though, I mean, to deport them, again, 1 million individuals a year would cost $88 billion. They pay in 89, yes, 55 to the federal government. Still, that's a huge expense, and we're not making up that tax money. Just saying, especially when the administration wants to give massive tax cuts to the rich. So it's just a huge, huge loss. You had to do all that. You're going to lose all that money for what? Nothing. Nada. Dick. But wait, what are you talking about? That's going to open up the jobs, right? They're coming in. They're stealing the jobs, right? They're stealing the jobs. They're stealing the welfare. Well, you just explained Schrodinger's immigrant, okay? They can't simultaneously be stealing the jobs and stealing the welfare. That's not a thing. You can't do that. Okay. Look, immigration attorney Hector Quiroga told Newsweek that removing undocumented immigrants from the labor market does not mean that the jobs they would have taken would then be filled by U.S.-born workers. Immigrant workers are willing to take on jobs that are physically demanding and require skills and jobs that most Americans are not willing to take on. Yes. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, the fix to this is not to just keep allowing these workers to be exploited by companies. Okay. No, I believe there should be a pathway to citizenship and labor protections for these workers, as well as better pay. In fact, I think that these workers, farm workers, should be earning the same amount of money as an American worker. Yeah. The reason they don't is because of their immigration status. A lot of these companies, they scare their workers by threatening to call immigration on them if they dare ask for raises or at least better working conditions. If you put them on this pathway, you take away the fear, and you take away these companies' gigantic tool for underpaying and exploiting their workforces. Understand that that's why these companies actually loved Trump during this election. Why is that? Because they thought that they could use Trump to scare their undocumented workers into being more compliant. Okay? They didn't think that Trump was going to actually do the deportation plan. But now he is. He's actually doing it. And not just deporting undocumented immigrants. He's also people with documents. He's taking away their legal right to be in this country. Green cards. Hell, even American citizens have been caught up in these deportations. Okay? So at the end of the day, it's pretty clear that these companies, they loved the threat of deportation and thought that it was just rhetoric. Oh, Trump's scaring the immigrants. That's going to help us because then we can scare the immigrants and we can screw them over even more. Yes. Oh my God, he's actually doing it. Oh no. Oh God. Oh no. We didn't vote for this. Oh God. What have we done? What have we done? You voted for this guy. Sad day for you. Okay. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Okay. All right. According to economist Jeffrey Sachs, Trump's tariffs destroyed the market capitalization by $10 trillion, said Grumpy Cat. Yep. Yeah. And now Mega has to pick their own fruits and veggies. Yeah, I know. Yep. And you know, it's interesting too, is like in Florida, they've already did this, and you just have vegetables and fruits rotten, just rotten on the vine. Of course, because they would rather have that than immigration. Yep. So there you go. All right. A last story for y'all. I know I'm just kind of blowing right through the stuff here, but I want to get to farmer greed. Is it okay to be tread on if it's an aging reality TV star? Probably not. I don't think I'd take that deal. All right, but anyway, let's do some drug pricing policy. This is a very policy-focused show today. So there you go. On Monday, President Donald Trump signed a new executive order on drug pricing. Trying to lower the prices of prescription drugs. Interesting. Could this be a good thing? Will it help? Well, let's look into it. Now, the new order calls on the health department, led by RFK Jr., to broker new lower prices for drugs with drug makers over the next 30 days. Or, there's an or in here. Well, what will happen if they don't voluntarily lower their prices? Well, apparently a new rule that would tie the price the U.S. pays for medications to lower prices paid by other countries will be put into effect. We're going to equalize, Trump said during a Monday morning press conference. We're all going to pay the same. We're going to pay what Europe pays. Hey, you know what? That would be a great thing. You know how much more we pay than Europe? About 3 times more for the same medications from the same corporations. So, yeah, if we could pay the same rate that Europe pays, well, that'd be fantastic. I'd love that. But there are issues. What do I mean? Well, for one, there's really not a whole lot of evidence that this executive order will actually help the millions of Americans who have private health insurance. Now, while it is true that the federal government has the most power to shape the price that it pays for drugs from Medicare and Medicaid, how this will impact drugs in the private market, we don't know. One of the reasons that patients in the U.S. pay more for drugs than patients in any other countries is because those countries, they have government healthcare systems that set prices that they're willing to pay. They have universal healthcare systems, where in America, we do not. We have this hodgepodge of public/private insurance. Okay, so you know how this is going to impact when, again, the federal government doesn't really have power to be able to negotiate drug prices for private insurance plans. How this is really going to have, how much of an impact this is actually going to have is questionable. And by the way, I said kind of the same thing when it was Biden that was doing the, 10 drugs that were negotiated by Medicare. Yes, it's going to help people, right? If they're able to do this. But at the same time, we really do need a different, thing, a different system. Okay. Now, that said, before I get to that, I do want to get to some of the crying that the pharmaceutical industry is doing, because it kind of tells me that maybe this could be a good sign, possibly. Okay. Well, here's Stephen J. Ubel, president and CEO of Pharma. That's the big pharma lobbying group that has used all of its power to try to prevent any sort of lowering of prescription drug prices, as well as moving us towards a universal healthcare system. Here's what he said. Importing foreign prices from socialist countries would be a bad deal for American patients and workers. Really? Because people in those socialist countries seem to be doing much, much better than we are. They live longer. They have cheaper prescription drugs, and they just generally do better than we here in the United States. How would this be a bad deal? He says, it would mean less treatments and cures and would jeopardize the hundreds of billions our member companies are planning to invest in America. Okay. How, when these treatments and cures are actually developed and financed by public money in our university system? That's who does all the research. And then these patent trolls will come in from these big companies and buy up the patents and then sit on it for decades. That's the problem here. I should say it's one of the problems, right? The other problem here is obviously the pharmaceutical companies and their profits. Their relentless pursuit of profits. Okay. Again, I mentioned the patent trolling. They sit on patents for decades. It prevents competition from generics. And so, yeah, that drives up prices. They can keep those prices high on drugs that, again, were developed with public money from public investment. That said, Donald Trump, in his order, does not target any of those people, does not target the pharmaceutical companies. Instead, he protected the pharmaceutical companies and is blaming who? Other countries. Of course. Other countries for the high price Americans pay for drugs. What? Yeah. Look, here's the thing. The other countries have universal health care. That means the government can negotiate all drug prices because they're pretty much the only major insurer. Okay? That allows them to have the leverage to be able to negotiate drug prices. Whereas, again, in this country, we don't have that. So will this help? Probably not. Rachel Sachs, a health law expert at Washington University, said this plan, quote, it really does seem that the plan is just to ask manufacturers to voluntarily lower their prices to some point, which is not known. If they do not lower their prices to the desired point, HHS shall take other actions with a very long timeline, some of which could potentially, years in the future, lower drug prices. Okay. So all of this really just depends on these companies voluntarily lowering prices. Oh, great. Okay. Again, the health department has the authority to change prices on drugs covered by Medicare and Medicaid because it can set some regulations. That said, in this country, the agency's power to do so over the vast majority of drugs is pretty limited. Okay. The price that millions of Americans covered by private insurance pay for drugs is very difficult for the agency to do anything about. Which brings me to the actual solution, right? the only way to really fix this problem is to do, not to blame the other countries, but to actually emulate them, to do what they have already done. And what is that? It is to guarantee health care to every single person in this country. That's it. Medicare for all. Universal health care. That is the only way for us to actually be able to rein in not only the high costs of prescription drugs, obviously, but also the high costs of healthcare in general. We could solve so many problems if we actually took on pharmaceutical greed as well as health insurance greed. Okay? That's it. That is the only solution here. And as you can see, though, the Trump administration is not at all interested in universal health care. They're just interested in what I see as kind of picking around the edges, right? Doing a little bit of kind of reform around the edges, maybe lower the price of a couple of prescription drugs, and then lauding these companies for maybe taking some of the drugs that, yes, they make a lot of money on, and just reducing the price, but just a little bit. If they do that, Trump administration is going to take a victory lap and say, well, that's it, problem solved. Well, the problem isn't solved at all. We're still going to be paying the highest prices for prescription drugs in the entire world with very little recourse to be able to actually do anything real about it. So this is just a, I don't know, paper tiger, one of those things, one of those threats. You know, oh, we're going to do something about it if you don't voluntarily lower your prices. I'm pretty sure pharma is going to be like, all right, bring it. Because there's really nothing right now that you can actually do to us. So I see it as pretty much a nothing burger type of thing that is not going to do what he says it's going to do. It's just not going to be worth the hype. So there you go. Republicans have said that socialism is bad to their base so many times. They can't remove the venom from their words because it would destroy their mythos. Yeah, right about that. Spartacus DeVille says, wait, I thought price control was communism. Now they're cool with it? Right? Is Donald Trump turning into a
Pink-haired communist.
not quite. Not quite. We're the only nation that has this problem in the free world, says David Sauls. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, well, there you go. That's all I got for y'all today. Thank you for watching the show. Really appreciate it. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Sign up to become a patron, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, or become a channel member by hitting the join button below. There are other ways that you can support us on the other platforms, Facebook as well. We're on Twitch, all that stuff. And there's always ways that you can sign up to support independent, progressive media. All right. Everybody, thank you so much. Take care of your, families, your friends, your communities, your loved ones. Change, of course, begins with you. At the bottom, with all that, Logical Lefty signing off. We'll see you tomorrow.